Thank you.
The tech. Hey, hopefully you can hear us and see us. Give us a thumbs up so we know you're here. So people beat us on here. We were actually just talking, and you can maybe you can relate to this. We were just talking about, we wonder what it's like to be, what it would be like to see the last 2 minutes before people go live on things like YouTube. So like we went and got water and things like that, but what is it like in the chaos of the last 2 minutes before you actually click the go live button? So that was fun for us to think about.
If you have any thoughts, comment, share with us your thoughts about those, what it would be like to know those moments right before.
Yeah, so you could tell we're doing this a little bit differently this time. We're at home because, like you, we're on a stay-at-home order. We have to be at home. So we're coming to you live from the Tobias homestead. So here we are. We made sure this end of the living room was clean before we turned on the video. You know how it goes with the laundry and the kids and the giant fluorescent colored fuzzy balls that are always in our living room. So we hope that you can connect with us here. Once you jump on, if you haven't already, say hello, give a hi or a wave or something like that. And the first thing we're going to do is we hope that at least there's some people watching who want to do a little singing. So tonight we're talking about what it means to be the light of the world in the midst of some dark times. So we're going to do a little song called, you should know it, called This Little Light of Mine. So this is how it works. You got to get your lights out. Stick your fingers up. Hey everybody's checking in. You got to get your lights up. This is your little light, okay? And it goes like this. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Do you wiggle it? No, you just hold it up.
Candles don't wiggle.
Candles don't wiggle.
The flames do.
The flames wiggle a little bit. So you just stick your light up. I'm gonna let it shine. And then the next part is, go ahead.
Won't let Satan it out. I'm going to let it shine. And then our next verse.
And the other one is,
hide it under a bushel?
No.
And you got to do that with some authority. You have to, no.
We're not hiding that light.
Like you're a small child that just learned the word no. No. Okay? And that's it, right? Yeah, hide it under a bushel, no. Yeah, okay? Everybody ready? Get your lights out, everybody. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All right, so what's next?
Won't let Satan.
Won't let Satan, here we go. Won't let Satan get out. I'm gonna let it shine. Won't let Satan get out. I'm gonna let it shine. Won't let Satan get out. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Hide it under a bushel. No! I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel. No! I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel. No! I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. What's this little light? This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All right, so thank you. You're like, I saw neighbors walking by the window out front looking like It's like the Partridge Family in here on Union Ave. That's it for the singing for this round. We hope you enjoyed that. A little fun for the evening. We don't always have family sing-alongs after dinner, but maybe it's something we should start.
We should.
We should start having family. I like your little lights up there, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate that. So a couple things that we want to do tonight is we just have a word from God's word. We want to spend some time. Should I sit back? I feel like
No, you don't have to.
I feel like this is. Like,
I'll sit forward.
I look humongous, and she looks tiny.
We'll just keep going back and forth.
Is this like messing with anybody? Are we sitting forward or back?
Whichever way you want.
That's back. Okay. I'm gonna go back. I get a little comfortable here. Can I? As long as I can still read the teleprompter. Okay.
Sorry.
So we're gonna have time. We're gonna spend talking about what does it mean to be the light of the world in this season, in this time. We're gonna talk about some things that are specific to children and youth ministry. Just give you an update on what we're doing and how you can be involved and how you can share that with people that you know, so that we can reach as many people as possible. And but we're gonna start by looking in God's word. So if you've got a Bible handy, or if you are digitally savvy and are using a digital Bible, you can grab it if you want. We're starting with Angie, so she'll tell you where we're going.
Do you want to pull that over?
Yeah.
Or no?
Go ahead.
So from John chapter 8, verse 12. Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.
I shouldn't have moved that forward.
Hold okay. I'll do it.
I got it. I'm already up.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Here, if I scoot it back.
There we go. Okay.
You come in.
All right. Sorry, everybody. Angie's going to read that again because I distracted you all.
Okay. Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk. Yes. Yeah. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.
Yeah, and then Jesus says this in Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 and 15. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. And then in verse 16, he says, in the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. So in the John chapter 8 passage, Jesus refers to himself as being the light of the world. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So we, as Christ followers, get to have the same light in us that Jesus has. And it's under Jesus' power that we have that light in our lives. And then in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus kind of flips it around and turns it and says, not only is he the light of the world, but you and I are the light of the world. That we're supposed to do the good deeds that we do so that other people see those good things and glorify our Father in heaven. So we've got a little setup here. I don't know. We'd like to do a lot of object lessons. So you'll notice a little stained glass cross, and we've got some lights because we're talking about the light of the world. So you'll see it's a little bright. We thought it might be too bright. Mm-hmm. But you can see as we put these lights clustered all together here.
Oof, there's some bright ones.
Get some pretty bright. So we got all kinds of. That's not a light. Some pretty bright lights, and you can see they're all together here, and it gets pretty lit up, right? The light of Christ shining through that stained glass window. Sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
And so when it's all clustered together, this is more of what we're used to, what church is typically like. We're together.
Yeah, so this is sort of an example for us. Normally, we as the church, we get to be sort of up close, right? And we get to be together, particularly on Sunday mornings, on a Wednesday nights. It's concentrated. The light is concentrated. It's all together in one place. But this is what happens when we move the lights apart from each other. It's not as concentrated anymore, right? Now, you'll notice that the lights are just as bright as they were before. They're just not all in the same place anymore, right? So the lights didn't get any dimmer. In fact, they might be more effective because they're spread apart. So another example would be like if we were in a dark room and we had a whole bunch of candles on this table and we lit them all. You'd be able to see us and you'd be able to see what was right here. Now, if we took those candles and we spread them out, think about like Christmas Eve, right? Think about Christmas Eve. So when we light all the candles around the room, in the sanctuary, in the gym, all the places that we're at, the light spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads, right? There's not just one concentration of light. So we're simply moving them into all these separate places, right? I think this is a really good analogy for us. Go ahead.
And Diane, you're right. You posted, the places that we could light up, spreading ourselves out. That's exactly right.
Yeah, so instead of us right now being together and being the light of the world together, where we're all shining in the same place, we have a unique opportunity. That Jesus doesn't say you're only the light of the world when you're together. It doesn't say that you're only the light of the world, or you only have that power when you're in the church building, or you only have that power on Sunday mornings. Listen, gang, you and I have that power. It's that power that Christ gives us, the same power that rose Jesus from the grave, that you and I have to be the light of the world wherever we're at. And so when you spread this around, like Diane said in the comments there, think of the places that you and I could bring the light of Christ to, even though we're apart in these days. It's some encouragement for us that you are the light of the world wherever you're at. So the question that we want to ask tonight is, while you're staying at home, so we're asking you, like everybody else, stay home, right? Just we're trying to be helpful in reducing the risk and reducing the spread of the coronavirus.
And we know that's hard. We feel that too. Like, when you look out the window and you see, it's so beautiful out there, so much more I could be doing, but stay home. And yet that's what we need to do. We need to stay home.
Yeah. So the question becomes, while you're staying at home, how can you be the light of Christ during this season? How can you, separated from all the other believers in Jesus who have the light of Christ, all these different places, it gets brighter and brighter. How can you share the light of Christ? What ways have you seen other people maybe sharing the light of Christ? We want you to put these in the comment section. There's some other questions that we're going to talk through and answer for you. But what we want this to be is an opportunity for you to share the best ideas that you've seen with each other. So we're asking, like, how can kids be the light of Christ during this season? How can our students, our teenagers, be the light of Christ this season? How can moms and dads and aunts and uncles be the light of Christ this season? How can grandmas and grandpas be the light of Christ this season? How can you, as a neighbor to the people around you, be the light of Christ this season? How can you, in your job, if you're still working, be the light of Christ to your coworkers, to the people that you interact with? So what we want you to do is we want you to put those things in the comment. What are the best things you've seen, or the things that you're doing, or the things that you've heard of, or the ideas that you have to be the light of Christ during this season of what feels to be darkness.
And don't think it just has to be like big, grand, glorious things. Like God uses the smallest things, one-on-one, one life, impacting one life, interactions to be the light of the world. And so use this as an opportunity to encourage. I know I'm looking forward to seeing your ideas and your comments because, again, we're figuring it out together. We're living life together in this very strange time. And it's easy for us to quickly say like, oh, I'm not doing this grand and glorious thing. And then it's easy for us to miss how God's using us in the simple, ordinary things that we do for each other and for God's glory. So share them.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something that's earth-shattering or earth-shaking. It doesn't have to be something that costs a lot of money. It could be something as simple as draw sidewalk chalk out front of your house. Like it can be that simple. But that's sharing the light of Christ if you do that in intentional ways. So keep them coming. Make some comments. We want to update you a little bit on some of the things that are specific to children and youth ministries because, hey, that's what we do. So a couple questions that we've been asked to kind of keep you in the loop about is what kind of impact does our current set of circumstances have on youth and children? So I'll start and let Angie jump in on the. I work with 6th through 12th graders. I've had a lot of contact with a lot of students over the last year and these past 3 weeks. Right. It's feels like it's been a long time, but it's been a short time. And it's probably the impact is not all that different on them than it is on anybody else, except for a couple specific things. So some of the impact is that these are, for our students, they're used to being around their peers for lots and lots of hours in a day. So that might be similar to you if you work. Or if you're specifically like if you're around a lot of people all the time, but remember, like they're used to being in a very structured, very consistent environment with their peers, and it's also a very social environment. Are we getting some glare on? Should we turn some of these off? You think? Sorry,
I don't know.
Push down there. So this is a little bit different for our students who are not used to having unstructured, unsocial time. So some of the struggles that we've been hearing from them are, even just today, I put a poll out because we're going to be doing something with this stuff this weekend. What are the things that how it's impacting them? Some of them are thinking about, will there be graduation this year? Will there be prom this year? Will they be able to do spring sports like track, stuff like that? And will school happen again for the rest of the season? Because there's a lot of implications there. So I think there's students who are feeling a lot of who are feeling grief, although they might not verbalize it as grief. If there's any students who are watching and you want to jump on the comments and just say how you think this might be specifically impacting you, go ahead and do that. In addition to that, it's just as it's probably just as stressful being at home for them as it is for you having them at home. So just an encouragement here for all of us is to continue, like we know what it's like to constantly be together, nonstop, hour after hour, day after day, is that you end up getting a little...
It's pure joy, right?
Yes, it's pure joy. All the time, it's pure joy. It's good. There's some silver linings to all that, right? But at the same time, it's like ping pong balls in a lottery machine a little bit, where you can get on each other's nerves and you can get frustrated. So it's an encouragement. One of the ways that we can be the light of Christ is to extend lots of grace and patience with each other, giving each other permission to walk away and take time. And I say that because I think a lot of our students are experiencing some boredom. And when they're bored, you know how teenagers can get when they're bored. So that's just couple of the impacts that we're that I'm experiencing, that having heard from our students. I'll let Angie talk to for the kiddos.
Sorry.
What impact there is.
Again, I think it's the same thing, except for there's a lot more inability to control circumstances. So they don't have the freedom typically for children to reach out to their peers. It usually goes through a filter of a parent for safety reasons. And so, but there's still those same losses. Most community sports are on hold for now, possibly canceled for the rest of the season. The exciting things that typically happen in the spring, like field trips or, preschool graduations, there's a loss for the child and for the parents, because those are important in our journey of life. They're milestone moments for kids. And so that's been, I think, really hard for a lot of the children and families.
Yeah, so another question that we've been asked to sort of loop you in on is, what are the best practices that to engage with youth and kids? For us, we're trying some new things. We've been doing a live Fuse Digital on Instagram every Sunday night in place of our typical live gathering that we would do at the church on Sunday evenings. It's been going really well. We're trying to create the best experience that we can, as interactive as possible. That's been sort of a learning curve for me and for my volunteer staff as to how to pretty much overnight revamp our ministry to be completely digital. We had done some digital things before, but not to this level. And so we're figuring it out slowly and trying to be careful at the same time. We did a Fuse digital elective yesterday. Kelly Young started to teach some sign language to a song called Good, Good Father. I was really excited about that. She did that via Zoom. So those are some of the best practices we're seeing. I think probably it seems basic, but just checking in on our students. Maybe you follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, Fuse Student Ministries, First United Methodist Church. But we've had students every night praying for different aspects of this coronavirus. So those are some of the ways that we're engaging youth during this time. One of the blessings is they were already digital. They were already in the digital world. They talk to each other when they're playing video games, and they connect digitally already. So it was sort of a simple jump for us to go into the digital realm, and that we knew that they were already there. So for a lot of them, that was a pretty simple jump. For some of them, their parents are relaxing the digital expectations for a season just so we can better engage during this time. So.
And for us, I hope you guys have been experiencing family opportunities in worship. We have had joy in creating some of these moments for families in worship and for really the whole congregation, as well as some online opportunities as well, which is new to us because of safety issues. We have not encouraged a whole lot of, apart from information sending, we have not utilized a whole lot of the internet or technology, just again, because it's not typically focused on, the younger kids. But again, just trying to provide biblical focus and activities and interactions has been really our desire, as well as connecting on a personal level too with families.
Yeah, one thing that Angie didn't mention that she's been doing is creating a lot of video content for families to watch together. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so 1 to 2, I've been creating 1 to 2 videos every week with an object lesson, something that families can do together, and then having a biblical truth that families can talk about then while they're watching the video, or then after the fact while they're doing the activity. And so just trying to provide resources, because one of the feedbacks that we have gotten is, that with all this time, we want to keep kids focused. And so to provide an activity that a family can do together without trying to just create activities or, try to figure it out with all this extra time that families have right now.
Yeah. One more resource that we'll share with you is that last night, the first streaming discipleship resource came out, and it's available on the First Church website. I think there was a link to it on the Facebook page. Is that true? Streaming discipleship is a resource. We've pulled together some things that already existed online and put some of our own unique twist on it. But here's the deal: is it is a at-home discipleship resource. So the goal is that a lot of families, a lot of kids have access to Netflix and Disney Plus, things like that. So even Netflix right now, I think you can always sign up for a 30-day free trial of Netflix. So if this is something that you want to do, you've probably got 30 days more of this staying at home stuff. So if you're thinking about, now's a good time if you have the internet, which if you're on here, you probably do have the internet. But it takes something that's streaming on Netflix, and this week was the movie Mary Poppins Returns, and it links it to a biblical story, and then there are questions for discussion for kids. There's questions for discussion for preteens and teens, and then there's action steps that go along with the whole thing. So it's a resource that we're providing in partnership between children's ministries and student ministries to give to you parents and anybody else that wants it. So if you know of anybody who needs that resource, feel free to link it or grab it from one of those places, firstchurch.cc, and send it to them. It's absolutely free. You don't have to pay for it. We're going to try and do that every week, something new every week that y'all can use at home to help continue discipling your kids when we're not able to get into the church physically. I think that's going to be released every Wednesday. That's the goal at this point. So every Wednesday, be looking for that. One more question that we're going to just touch on really quickly because we're almost out of time. How can we best love and support our youth and children right now? Listen, some of the best practices that I've seen are be gracious, find opportunities to express, give them express love to them, give them the opportunity to process with you. So if you're a parent at home and you haven't had a conversation, like, how do you feel about all of this? Keep asking that question. If you've asked it and nobody wants to respond, that's okay, but keep asking that question. At some point, I think there's probably going to be an expression of how this is, it's frustrating and it's different. And right now it might just be, it's great. We love it because we get to be home, and that's okay too. But I think as it goes on, it's important to keep asking that question. For those of you who don't have kids at home, the best thing I would say is just keep praying. Pray for our students. Share these resources that we're not just developing, but the opportunities that we're giving online, because they're positive, they're encouraging, they're Jesus-focused things. And the more of that we can be engaging our students in this season, the better. I'll let Angie talk to any kids things that she wants to share.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything that Josh said. I think also just celebrating that God is here and present with us, even when things might be frustrating or disappointing, giving words to that for families and for children, to say that, it is frustrating. This kind of stinks that we're having to stay home, but it's okay. Like, to find, to help children really, or really even other adults too. We all need these reminders to kind of see a different perspective on what we're doing. And so, one thing that we were going to do for the children's ministry, but for the whole congregation, was to do a window egg hunt. But now with this day, hang an egg in your window.
Hang a window in your egg.
Yes, that's it. And that way you don't, that way we can connect even though we're staying home, so that, if somebody is out walking their dog and sees a paper egg hanging in a window, it's an automatic connection. Like, we're in this together and it's okay. that you can be a witness to your neighbors, especially if you decorate an egg with crosses on it, or words like "He is risen" as a witness to your neighborhood. That's a way that we can connect. And being that it's something that we were hoping to do, and there is disappointment that we aren't going to be able to do the full thing in children's ministry, that's a way of saying, like, we support, even in the frustration and the disappointment of some of these changes, as a whole congregation, as a church, as a body, even bigger than First Church, as believers, that we're in this together, that we're praying for each other. One thing that we're going to do tomorrow, we're having a special little party for kids. I'm super excited through Zoom. But one thing that we're going to do to help us also just encourage a little bit of different thinking. Typically Palm Sunday, and my heart is really broken because Palm Sunday is one of my favorite Sundays out of the year. Because there's a little bit of nostalgia for me. Growing up, we always did a procession as a child with palms. And so it's something that is just so joy-filled. But we won't be able to do it this year because we are staying at home. And so one thing that we are going to do, and I'm going to encourage everyone, and grown-ups alike, I encourage you to do this too, to make a palm out of paper. And honestly, if you are not an artist, you can do kind of egg shape, maybe a green kind of big circle, whatever it is, and that we can wave it together in worship on Sunday, just as our own little procession, our own excitement of Palm Sunday. As some of your comments have already said about, how do we be the light? It's really about just encouraging one another and doing something even as small as a smile, or as leaving a note, or texting somebody an encouragement. Those are huge things. And so for our families and our kiddos and for the congregation, I hope that making paper palms and waving them around is one little thing that we can do to just brighten Sunday, to be the light in less than ideal circumstances.
Yeah, and we discovered tonight at dinner that if you don't have like green construction paper to make a palm for Sunday, a lettuce leaf. A lettuce leaf. I didn't have a good hold of it, but a lettuce leaf can work just as well to wave around on Sunday morning. So this is if you don't have construction paper, if you're not able to make a palm, I want to see pictures on Sunday morning of people's palms. And if you're waving lettuce leaves around on Sunday morning, I want you to take pictures of you doing that and put them on the First Church community page, because I really want to see tons of people waving lettuce leaves around as palms. Yeah, the colt had to eat something. Absolutely, the donkey had to get some lettuce. This lettuce has been sitting out now for like an hour, maybe a little longer, so it's a little wilted. But fresh lettuce you can wave for days. Telling you.
Days.
Yeah. So we hope that this has been encouraging for you. We hope that it gave you some tangible ideas. We're really excited. Lots of people making comments about what it means to be the light of the world, how you can be the light of the world during this time. It's dark times, but you and I have the call to be the light of the world in dark times. And so you and I, while we're spread out, we still have a great opportunity to be the light of Christ in the world. So the last thing we want to do is pray with you all.
We are praying for you.
Yep.
Please know that. If there are things that we can specifically pray for, please contact any of us staff, and we will definitely be covering it in prayer.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's close our eyes. Let's bow our heads. We're going to pray.
You pray.
Go ahead. Angie's going to pray.
Okay. Father God, you are awesome. Thank you for guiding us and directing us when things are so uncertain and it feels like things are changing every moment. God, you are consistent. You are our rock. You are our strength, and we thank you for that. Guide us to be the light of the world. Use us in your ways so that others can know your great love, that this world in dark times can be changed and renewed and revived by you, God. Thank you for sending Jesus into the world be with us. We ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Hey, it's good to be with you, and just we want you to be the light of the world and have a great night. That's confusing.
Hold on, I don't.
It's an end.
There. Okay. Oh, sorry.
I gotta go.